So, welcome back to another developer session. Today we are going to be adding the ability to pick up items in the overworld and add them to our inventory. To start with, I think as a sample we're just going to use materials off the ground like herbs or mushrooms or other plant life in order to, kind of set off a crafting system of some sort for making healing items. Now, I kind of already have a system in place that deals with interactable objects, and I use that for my save points and my NPCs. So, we're going to work off of that. The way it works is when the player enters a range of an interactable object, it starts checking if the angle the player's facing is within like a certain amount. I think it's 15 degrees of the between the forward direction and the direction between the player and the target's position. Now, what happens is it switches this text over the A button. You can see it's none now. When I go back into view, it becomes talk. It changes the action that the A button performs, and when I perform that action, it executes a method, or a coroutine rather, on the target's interactive object script. In this case, the interaction is to talk, so it pops up this dialog button, and I press A a couple more times, and then the dialogue is done. And there's a couple other restrictions, like during this interaction I can't move, and that's all just defined in the code. We have like this other interaction here is the save. So when I come in, it changes the text to save. I hit A, it pops this screen up, and until I've dealt with this screen, the player can't move and everything's paused. So we're going to add a very similar thing to that for some sample objects on the field, and what they're going to do is they are going to add the item defined on the object into the player's inventory, and then destroy the object on destroy the object on screen, so that it indicates that the item has been taken. So just for a quick review, I've got this iInteraction interface. It just says, okay, well, an item that's interactable has some text. There's a Boolean indicator for whether the interaction's in progress or not, and the coroutine that I mentioned before. And from that, I've got a save point interactable, or rather, you can see it's iInteraction. Should really change that to iInteractable, but so it implements the in progress. It implements the text with the hard-coded save text, and its interact launches this coroutine that grabs the screen manager. It locks down the player's ability to move. It opens the save screen, and then while the save screen is still active, it yield returns. So it forces us to deal with that screen like I was mentioning before. Once the screen's no longer active in the hierarchy, we restore movement to the player and we're no longer in progress. Similarly, the NPC works the same way, where it locks down the player's movement and re-adds the player movement once it's once the dialogue's finished, and it just has this show dialogue operation that uses these lines of dialogue that are received from a key on the object. And we have this interaction check, which exists on the interactable, and it relies on the a trigger collider to determine if the player is in range, and it checks the angle that the player is at in relation to the object, and determines on whether or not the interaction is available or not, which just sets the player's current interaction and enables the interaction controller, which, if I remember right, this just essentially checks to see if there is an interaction that's active, and checks for it just checks for the A button. It updates the A button text, and that's about it. It launches the coroutine for the interact. Other than that, there's nothing else this does. So we're going to go ahead and create a new interactable. I keep calling it interactable. I'm just going to go ahead and change that. iInteraction. iInteraction or iInteractable? iInteractable. Interfaces are descriptors. interactable. I'm fine with the rest of that. Interact, in progress, and interaction text. I'm fine with that. So we're going to have a new interaction, or an interactable. See, as soon as I rename it, I start calling it the other thing. This is going to be a item pickup interactable. And I'll go back and rename some of this other stuff later. But I'm going to go ahead and make this mono behavior. It's also an interactable. Really need to go in and change the way Visual Studio generates these properties, at least for one-liners. Oh. Interaction text is going to be take and interact. First off, properties below our methods. And interact. Interact. What is interact going to do? Well, first off, interact does not need... Well, first off, item pickup interactable. It has more information than this. Right? We've got a... item key, which is going to be a key to one of our items in our repository. We'll come back to that later. But we're going to, let's see, player.instance.inventory add item. And that takes an instance of an inventory item. That's right. I set this up so I could I don't need to use the repository to get the item. New inventory item. And we'll also set the amount of items that are in this object. In the editor as well. Now, if I remember right, this add item is going to come in here, and using the hydrate, it's going to grab the definition. So I shouldn't need to worry about that too much. However, these are going to be materials. Where's my inventory? There you are. So consumable items have a very specific implementation, which is important, especially if this is not changing the implementation. It's, well, if I already have them, it's grabbing this. So this would be a consumable item if I'm picking up a consumable item. But anything that is not already in my inventory, it's just going to add it as an inventory item, which then it's going to throw an exception if I try to use it. So that's a problem. And also, wasn't there a or are my materials just inventory items? I suppose I didn't have any kind of usage on it, so yeah, they're all just inventory items. So that's fine for materials, but now I've got this get definition, I've got this hydrate. Really, though. Yeah, I know that category is intrinsically tied to the type definition as well. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to say public inventory item get or create item. Because I know I have a index of all the categories based on the item key. I know that based on the same things I have here, really. Those don't exist. There we go. So now I can at least make sure that I'm providing it with the correct things. Yeah, capacity, drop rate, definition, current amount. Like, I'm okay with that for now. Well, I mean, based on the usage, I know that when I go to add the item to the inventory, it's going to call the hydrate anyways and get the definition. But do I want to do that here? But I could just do a get definition and give it this thing here. Yeah. What's the danger of that? So if definition's null, then it hydrates. Doesn't really do anything other than that. Yeah, I mean, I may as well. So for weapon, and for shield, armor, consumable, and material. So pop back over to our item pickup interactable. is item information manager dot instance dot create item. And how are these organized? So I've got my level terrain, so my NPCs have the interaction script on the root. Then underneath it is the collider for the interaction check, as well as the visual element. So that's fine. So I can always assume that this is going to be the root of what I want to destroy. So we're going to GameObject.destroy this.GameObject. Honestly, this does not need to be a coroutine because we're not really waiting on any input from the player. So I think if I just return 0 or return null. No, if I return null, the start coroutine freaks out. And it might freak out if I do that after the game object's been destroyed as well. So we'll go ahead and wait a frame. Oh no. You know what? We'll try it. I'm curious if this game object destroy will freak out the coroutine operation if I'm doing a yield return after the destroy. So that's fine, that's fine. I think we're all good from this front. Build succeeded, so we don't have any compile errors. So let's go ahead and create an item of some sort. So we'll go ahead and we'll put this over here, and we're going to create this out here in the, whoa, why did you go all the way there? Create empty object, and we'll call this a yeah, we'll just call it an item pickup for now. And I'm going to go ahead and add a what do I want this to be? I'll put a little cylinder here. Now, I said little cylinder here. Maybe not quite that little. There we go. So we've got our cylinder. He's going to have his collider. No rigid body because there's no physics. I just don't want the player walking through it. This guy is going to have a item pickup interactable, and his item key. We need an item key. Data material item. Yeah, we'll just give it a. I'll just give it a material 1 for the moment, just to make sure this is actually working. So material 1 times 20, 20 amount, and we need our collider. Now, I'm pretty sure I have a prefab for the collider thing. Where are you at? Prefab, game assets, prefabs, interactables. There we go, interaction check. Yeah, so add that. That's a little large. Yeah, I think that's good. Is kinematic, interaction check, is trigger. Yeah, so that looks good. So let's go ahead and, so when we pop over here, we should see our text change to take. Right, look away works, distance works. When I press A, well, first off, we're going to look at the inventory, and forgive this garish looking inventory screen. It's, you know, visuals are a placeholder. I'm just looking for functionality. So we're going to take it, the game object destroyed. And we have material 1, and we have 20 of them. All right, excellent. So that worked out. Now, we also, though, I don't want to have to go into the inventory to see what the player picked up. So we're going to go ahead and add the material and the amount to the, I forget what I called it, but it's essentially the post-battle report. There's a thing that pops up on the side of the screen after battle that says how much experience the player got from the fight, as well as any item pickups that came from it. And I want to say that's controlled in the HUD manager. Where are you? HUD manager. Pop-up message window. Fade out text. Moving log. That sounds right. And what do I have here? I have add moving log entry that just takes text. And I have one that takes multiple entries. Okay. So if we do this, we're going to HUD manager.instance add moving log entry item.definition.display name format 0x1 item definition display name and item.current amount. All right, very cool. So we got our little pop-up going. Is there anything else I want to do with this right now? So we got our item pickup working. Adds to our inventory. We have our display. Oh yeah, I want to do a highlight for when we're looking at it. So kind of like a visible outline going on. Now I did a little research into this, and I found a decent shader, or at least I think it's a decent shader. The code looked all right, but I haven't done any shader work in a very long time. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to make use of that. Now I need to get my shader. So I got my game assets, materials. Add a shaders folder under here, and I'm just going to go ahead and pull this in. Self-illuminated outline diffuse. So that's fine. Now, there we go. So we have this shader here, and like I said, it's been a very long time since I did shaders, and I've never done them in Unity, so this looks somewhat different than I'm used to. Like some of the verbiage still makes sense. Like we have the name of our shader here. We have a single. I guess shader is an instance of a shader in here, and it has a pass, which I'm assuming I could have multiple passes inside of this one shader execution. And this will execute once per frame, or rather per render. And multiple passes, we would have the output of this pass on the object, and then we might apply a second or third or fourth pass to it. And we apply a few per vertex, per pixel operations against the object in question, the object that we're drawing that has this shader applied to it. But beyond that, I'm way out of date on this stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and trust at first glance that this is fine, and we'll see what it actually looks like in game and what options I have to set. Which it looks like I've got like a color, outline color, a width of the outline, some texture options, which I'm not 100% sure about, but we'll see what happens once we actually apply it. So actually, yeah, so for first off, let's, before we go messing around with adding the, whatchamacallit? What was I going to say? Before we go messing around with making it so it only highlights when we're actually looking at the object, let's just go ahead and duplicate this guy. And I'm going to disable this one, and I'm going to apply this shader to this guy. Yeah, so these are just some standard color shaders I have. So let's create a folder for outline. I'll drop this shader folder in here. And we're going to create a material. Test outline. And this shader self-illumine / outline diffuse. I think the way this works is if it's in my project somewhere, it shows up in this. Is that how that works? Self-illumine, outline diffuse, yeah. Okay, I guess the system just does a check to make sure that it's in the project. I had assumed earlier that I was going to have to put it in my resources folder for it to show up in here, and the rest of these were all just built-in items, but I guess not. So what do we got here? Normal map shader without a normal map. Consider using a non-normal mapped shader for performance. I'll worry about that in a little bit. So our default material, we're going to replace this with the test outline. And that just turned it completely white. So let's go ahead and have a look here. So test outline, main color, outline color. That outline doesn't seem to be changing anything. Let's see how it looks in game before I go ahead and mess further. Yeah, so clearly no outline on that. Outline width is super low. Let's, oh boy, yeah, we can't really increase that too much, can we? Yeah, that doesn't seem to be doing anything. So let's see here. So subshader, opaque, use pass, this, and use pass, diffuse PPL. So blah, 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 position color, fog, outline color. A V2F includes a position, a color, and a fog. A position is a float 4, meaning it's a XYZW, if I remember correctly. I cannot go to definition on that. Do I get IntelliSense? No. So I'm going to assume that's XYZW. Yeah, norm is a float 3 and it's getting XY. XY and XY. So I don't remember XY being a thing. I would have, like I said, I would have assumed XYZW as a matrix column value. But let's see here. We're position multiplying based on unity matrix MVP. Whatever the hell that means. Yeah, this lack of IntelliSense sucks. Okay, so we do another multiply against this. So nothing as far as us set texture, main texture, combined primary. Is that the deal because I don't have a texture applied? So let's just get at that. Yeah, I still don't see any change on the outline object. Or that. Illumination texture. Let's throw that on there just to... No, still nothing. Bump map, Illumin A. It's a bump map, yeah. Main texture, base RGB. I'm assuming this is a default value of white. Let's look at it in here again. Yeah, no outlining going on. All right, so I'm gonna pop back to the website here, where I pulled this, and let's see here. Okay, so that was less than helpful. Now in this test outline, yeah, this was the only option here. All right, so I'm obviously going to have to do a little more checking on that. So we'll cut here and come back when I have a solution for that after a little bit more research. So now I'll hand it off to future Chris to take care of the rest of the commentary. All right, so thank you, past Chris. I'll take it from here. So it was fairly easy to find a script online that actually worked. The Unity wiki has a handful of different scenarioed ones, but I also had an outline shader from a previous package that I bought that works quite well. I'll try to remember to put in the video description the link to the Unity Wiki page with the shaders on it if you want. But essentially you can see here we've got the our cylinder is red now, and I've got a light green outline on it. It doesn't quite look exactly great with the cylinder, but I did test it with the sphere, and it looks like it outlines correctly. It's just the way the sphere is shaped. It's got some disconnect. You can see right here where my mouse is. There's a spot where, based on the current perspective, we're not really seeing the color rendered there. But you can see I kind of got my main color, my outline width, and as I change these things, you can see the thing on the screen change. I think we'll give it a green outline for the moment. We'll go ahead and make our, we'll leave our item as being this, oh no, I should have just left it as red, honestly, but there we go. And actually, I do kind of like that, maybe a darker green. There we go. I'll bring that width in because it looks really bad with a larger outline size. So what we're going to want to do though is we only want the outline to show up when we're actually within a when our interaction check pans out. So let's see if I remember exactly how to do this. So I think we can have multiple materials on here, and in code we set something like the current selected material or something like that. But let's find our item pickup interactable. And I guess we're going to need a, our interactable is going to need to know if it's active or not. Not that it's in progress, because I didn't even set the in progress for this because, quite frankly, it's an immediate action. But our player interaction controller needs to notify us if the player interaction controller, where'd you go? It needs to notify the interaction that it is the active interaction. Or we need the interaction collider to tell us. So interaction check has this on trigger enter, and it has activate interaction. I guess we could have it tell itself that it's active. I mean, the interactable needs to know, well, I already know about the interaction here. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Let's see. So item pickup interactable. We'll go ahead and implement this. Actually, I need to implement this on the other spots too, but quite frankly, I don't want them to do anything with it at the moment. And save point. So on our item pickup interactable, we have a mesh renderer. And I want to say r dot material returns the first instance material assigns to the texture. Isn't there a... I thought there was something where we set the active material or something like that. No, that's right. We can give it a different shader. But quite frankly, I don't want to do that. And isn't, if I remember right, swapping materials is fairly performance impactful. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so is that really how that works though? If I... Okay, so that doesn't quite make sense. According to this... Alright, how about somebody that actually has a concise answer? Like, that would help. I mean, I guess technically I can, I mean, I could just control the outline width. If I just grab it as the, yeah, actually, that, or hell, I could even grab the outline color and change the alpha. Right? Like if I take this, come on Unity, and I change the alpha on this, yeah, I could do that. So I'm going to go ahead and make a... So the articles I was looking at, they were talking about taking the material collection and changing the order of the array or some stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't know if I quite trust that. Like, that doesn't make sense inherently. So I'm going to go ahead and go with this, where I'm going to assume that my interactable is just blanket statement, things that are pickupable, that are item pickup interactables, will always be highlighted. And therefore, I'm always going to have this highlight shader applied to the object. So, r.material dot set color and our color name is going to be outline color, I believe. Yeah. I think it goes by this text explicitly. So we'll put the space in there and we'll see if this actually works. So outline color. Right. So r.material.getColor is going to be that. If val, so if we are the active interactable, then c.a is equal to, I think this is from 0 to 1, else c.a is equal to 0. So we're just going to toggle the alpha value, and we're going to set the material color back to whatever. And set active interaction needs to get called interaction check, check. So active interaction, this dot interactive interaction dot set active true, false. And I'm going to just go ahead and make this blanket statement that on awake this dot interaction is not equal to null, then this dot interaction dot set active. Yeah. All right, I think that's okay. So let's go ahead and spin this up and see what happens. Material does not have a color property outline color. Let's try that with no space. Whoops. Yeah, no color without the space either. So what's up? Is it going by this? Underscore outline color? I mean, your guess is as good as mine, viewer. Yeah, okay. So it's going by the actual property. So if I get close here, yeah, we see the outline pop up. Bada bing, bada boom. You take it, and it's good. All right, well, that was a bit of a roundabout way to get there, but I would call that a success. All right, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.